Hey guys, Ava here at Fasttunes, and as you can see, I'm in a car currently. I'm at college, so I'm not currently at Fasttunes right now, but that's okay because these videos are not going to stop you guys. I'm going to continue to edit and work on these videos from college. Micah, Megan, my dad, and Papa Ronnie, they're all going to do these videos and send them to me so that I can continue to put out the best content for you guys. Today's video is a little exciting. We're bringing back the Cam Wizard. Cam installs are going to be a new normal on our channel, and we cannot be more excited to announce that to you guys and to just continue to make these videos. We're going to be shifting our focus to performance level bike modifications, so expect to see a lot of that on our channel. And if you're looking to get any of that done, make sure you guys visit our website at www.fasttunes.com. And without further ado, let's get right into this Cam install.
This is a Ronnie crane at Fasttunes, formerly DC Cycling Racing. Getting ready to do a cam install. I'm going to be putting in a 3030 star cam, S&S push rods, tubes, install kit, louvered baffles. It's already got a high flow air cleaner on it, and the head pipe's been decatted. Got a new set of lifters that we're going to put in also. We've got sitting over here, ready to pull the air out of them. Got two spark plugs out already. You go ahead and get your spark plugs out, get the rear wheel off the ground. I jack the back of one up and get the rear wheel off the ground. I like to make sure there's room for my fingers to roll under there, because if you don't, and you reach out here to turn the engine, you'll wind up with your fingers pinched under that rear tire. We'll come over here and put it in 6th gear. All right, we got 6th gear. That'll make it easier to turn the engine with the rear wheel. I only took out the two spark plugs on the other side, the two that's easy to get to. And we're going to get this breather cover out of the way. Get that slid off. Make sure we don't scratch it. We may have to pull that filter off. We'll just have to wait and see. The filter won't be too bad. Get it out. Just get a couple things out of the way. If you don't go ahead and get them out of the way, they just hinder you later. Gave us a little more room. Still don't have a lot of room here to get to the push rods and the push rod tubes, so we may just go ahead and pull this backing plate off, so just in the interest of not scratching anything. Some people go ahead and pull the throttle body off. I don't usually do that. Go ahead and get this floorboard out of the way. All right, we got the floorboard off. You can just swing them down out of the way if you want to. Took this heat shield off here because it blocks the nut up here that we need to loosen on the exhaust. Put a little painter's tape, because I don't want to scratch it. Reach up in here. Exhaust bolt. We don't have to take it off, we just need to loosen it. Here we go. Now we're going to loosen the rear pipe also. Now we're going to loosen this exhaust on this mount underneath the middle. There we go. We got one more right here. Take this nut off. Now the pipe should swing out. The only thing holding it is the rears, those rubber mounts. So we can pull this out. Got a little, Dave was making fun of it a while ago. Got a little piece of wood, kind of got a little taper on it. I've been using this thing for years. Just wrap a rag around it. Pull this pipe out. Slide it right down there. Now we've got room to get our bolts out, get our cam cover off, without pulling the exhaust or anything.
And what company makes this wedge right here?
That's Crane USA.
Crane USA, okay.
Got a little wobble extension, 3/16. Get these others, hopefully. Got another little tool that gets into tight places. Here we go. I left one in the top, just loosely. They don't usually just fall off. A little tap with a dead blow. Bolt out. And we'll pull our cam cover off. All right, we'll get these push rod tubes. These keepers off. Always happens. We won't be using any of this that we're taking out. We've got black ones to go back in, so we won't be using any parts of it either. Paper clip and a rubber band. Hook it over one of your rocker box bolts. Hold that up. Trusty bolt cutters. We gotta kind of cut it kind of slow. Push rod out.
So guys, that's number one. We got 4 more to go, and we'll get back to you after we get those out.
All right, we got our push rods out. We need to come in here. We're not gonna change lifter cuffs or anything like that. We need to get these O-rings out of here. The top has O-rings also. We need to get them out. All right. And these look pretty clean. We gotta make sure if there's any glue or anything put on these up here that it's clean, that it's not in there. These are pretty clean, but we'll take a rag and some carburetor cleaner and wipe that out real good up in there, because if there's any residue of any kind of yellow glue, is what it usually looks like, then when you put your new push rods in there and your new seals, you may have a leak. So that just needs to be clean. All right, we got our cam cover off, push rods out. We need to pull that chain tensioner off. Right here, need to use these star bolts. They're a T27, I believe. take out our cam bolt and our crank bolt. Kind of work them off together and they'll slide right off. We got a cam spacer here. Most all of them come with a 110,000 spacer. Most all of them go back with 130,000. Okay, that's 110. Our lifters are still in here. If this was a twin cam, we'd have to pull this off to put in new lifters. But on the M8, we can put them in from the bottom. Okay, we got one bolt that doesn't want to slide out. Make sure you got a pan under it, because the oil filter, that oil is going to drain out when you pull this cam plate off. Right. Just keep working this bolt around until we get it out. And here's our cam plate for an M8. There's our oil pump, cam, lifters. We can just take this cam and just kind of roll it a little bit, get it past the lifters. And the lifters didn't even fall down. Now we can push our lifters down. Here's a stock Harley lifter. Right here is your oil hole where the oil goes in your lifter. You see where it's at? It's 90 degrees from your pin for your roller. Here's a aftermarket going back in with. You look, your hole for your lifter oil is in line with your pin for your roller. You can't put these back in just like the others came out, locating the hole there. But this area here that's cut down, as long as the oil gets here, it circles all the way around this and then goes in that hole. So it is going to get oil regardless. I do like to get the hole as close as I can to the hole up here. You can just reach up in there and should be able to find the hole right there. You can take a mirror, and look up there, look down from the top. Good idea where the oil hole is. Take a look at this oil pump. They made a few changes on oil pumps over the years. Of course, this one's got the latest and greatest. It's hard to see, but if you look right back through there, and I know you're not going to be able to see it, it's got a little tab that sticks out. And if it's got that little tab that sticks out, then that's the latest and the greatest oil pump. They changed the number of teeth on the scavenge side. This is the pressure side, the oil that goes up to the engine. The other end is the scavenge side that's pulling the oil out of the crankcase and putting it back in the tank. I'm not going to pull the oil pump out. I don't see any reason to. There's also a seal right back here on the back. I like to take a mirror and just take a look. Yep, it's back there. When you look in there to see it, it'll be this color. It'll be kind of a brown colored seal. I'm going to put in a new inner cam bearing. This is one of the updated ones. I've been seeing them more in the new bikes. I've actually put the full roller inner cam bearing in them. And we'll get that pulled out and install a new one while we're here. All right, we got our inner cam bearing puller on here. Getting ready to pull that inner cam bearing. This is Jim's Tools. Jim's makes really good tools that will last a long time, and they have parts for their tools. If you break one of them or misuse it, bend it. All right. And there's our old cam bearing. And this one actually did come with the full roller needle bearings all the way across. There's no cage in between them or any gap in between them. Here's one also that they use. And if you look at it, you see in the cage that there's a space between the rollers. It's not a solid roller bearing. And these are notorious to give trouble. The needle bearings to fall inside the case, get in the oil pump, get in the cam chest, and just really play havoc with it. So they did have the full needle roller bearing in this one. And these are both Toyo bearings. They're both the same bearing. We're going to install a new one. We want to look for that and make sure that you put the full roller bearing back in it. Basically the same tool, but I've got it set up, ready to push the new one in. We want to put plenty of it in here. Make sure this bearing is lubricated real well. We'll take it and make sure it'll spin inside that cage. I have seen them that wouldn't spin. The cage would be squeezed too tight, I guess. Also on these, the markings, the name whatsoever, that's what you push against. It's stronger, and that's the side you push against. This side here, if you look at it, it's kind of rounded. It's not near as well made. So you want to make sure you push on the right side, or you may bend your cage and have to start all over. All right, I got it marked which way it goes. This is I've got this one marked, but it didn't have anything on it to make sure that I get it right the first time. I'm just using 2 of the cam plate bolts here because these plastic heads won't fit in there with this exhaust. All right, now I have to press it the rest of the way. When this gets pushed into the right depth, it will stop. It sets the right counter sink. There it is.
So, Mr. Ronnie, you want to explain to the people why using this tool, unlike the extractor tool, you put 4 bolts in?
Yeah, I just had 2 at the top because it's pulling, it's pushing the tool in, but when you're pushing the cam bearing in, it's trying to push the tool out. So I like to go ahead and put all 4 of them in for that. Take this pick and reach in there and roll that cam bearing. Make sure it didn't bind, that it didn't mash the cage or anything. Just make sure it'll roll. We got our new lifters. We've got them sitting in this Jim's tool to help remove the air out of the lifters. The little hole in the side of the lifter here, it will get the air out from here to here in the top where this pumping action is. It'll help get the air out, and when you start the engine, very seldom have one clatter until the lifter builds up and starts working properly. If you don't get the air out of them, they're going to really clatter and you're going to think you got a problem. If you don't have one of these kind of tools, you can take just an oil can like this. This works really good, that tip does. And you can put it right there on that hole and you can pump it full of oil till it comes out the top. Pushes the air out the top that way. You can do that also. I didn't think much of it to start with, but after using it, seeing how it works, I kind of like it. Just want to make sure they're submerged. Y'all have seen me use this tool before in other videos. It's just a jar really with a plastic cap on it and a valve stem rigged through it. Put the top on it. Take your mighty bag, or you can take one of the handheld ones. You can see it when I turn it on. You'll start seeing air bubbles come up. And that's basically the way it works. I found if you turn it off and let the vacuum release and turn it back on, you'll get even more. It looks pretty good. We'll go with that. And we need to put our lifters in next. If we were changing these lifter covers to black or something, then we would need to take these off. Then we could just go ahead and put the cam in. We could drop the lifters in from the top. But means we're not having to take these off, which really isn't a lot of fun. We can just put them up from the bottom. We got our Star 3030 cam here. Got it. Looks nice. We'll lube it up really well. We'll have it ready, because most of the time when you put the lifters in, they will stay up in there in those factory cuffs, lifter cuffs that's in there. Put plenty of lube on it. Give it a good chance. How's that look, Micah?
Looks pretty lubed up.
Pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna reach in here and put a little, that inner cam bearing, and then the bottom of it. Take my pick. Raise up my lifters. I'll turn the oil hole. It's not going to really matter because you can't turn them in the best direction. You just got to go for one or the other. Make sure they're good and lubed. And I'm going to turn the hole to the inside. That little lifter cuff will move a little in there. You may have to reach in there and turn it just a little bit. We'll try this other one. There it went. Right in. And they're pushed up in the cuff farther than they normally run, so kind of helps hold them up there. Now we got our cam already lubed up. We'll put just a little more. And cam just goes right in that inner cam bearing. All right, that's easy enough, ain't it?
Oh yeah.
All right, we got our cam in. We lubed up a oil pump good. Got our new O-ring here. And we're lubing up our cam plate. Make sure it's doing good. All right, we got some Loctite on our oil pump bolts. Here, if y'all remember, I had one that I couldn't get out until I pulled the cam plate loose. I get started in the hole it goes in, and that'll get my cam plate back to where I put it on. I put just a little bit of Loctite on, medium Loctite. Almost everything on a Harley you need a Loctite, unless it goes into a insert that's inside a plastic. So we'll start these just a little bit. Get the rest of our cam plate bolts. All right, we're getting ready to check the runout on the end of the crankshaft to see how true the crankshaft is. We got our tool set up here, and we're gonna roll it around and see what it is. We'll roll it by using the rear wheel. And it looks like only about 2 thousandths, which is really good. Real good. We always like to check that to make sure that it's not too much, that it wobbles too much, and when it's coming around, it's giving the cam chain slack, taking it back up. It's working the tensioner. It's just working it in and out, and it's also taking the oil pump and rolling it around, tight and loose, and can also cause damage there. But this looks really good. So we'll take our tool back off and start back together. All right, we checked our crank run out on this one. Only had 2 thousandths, which is really good. I'd be happy if that was mine and only had 2 thousandths. That's kind of unusual, really. So this crank is moving a little bit, 2 thousandths, which isn't bad. With this cam plate, it's got one dial pin that lines up, but it can still swing just a little bit. It can move just a little. So what we're going to do, what I like to do, is before I tighten this thing down, I want to turn the rear wheel and let that crank roll and center the oil pump up and the cam plate and put it all in the best place for it to run. I'm going to let it center itself, you might say. Sometimes I just spit oil out right there. I'm going to turn the engine 2 or 3 times and just kind of let everything get where it wants to be. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and snug up the cam plate bolts. All right, then I'm going to roll it again, and if the oil pump needs to move just a little bit, center itself up, and have the opportunity. Okay, that should be good. And then I'm just going to roll it and make sure that it doesn't lock up. And that sounds kind of funny. You wouldn't think that the crank would bind that much in the oil pump and in the cam plate, but I have had one that did. And I had to do it again to keep it from binding up. It had so much run out. All right, I'm gonna torque these bolts. Then we'll check the runout from the cam to the pinion. Make sure the sprockets are in line. All right, we got our cam plate installed. All the bolts are torqued. We checked the alignment on our 2 sprockets, and most all your aftermarket cams, a 130 spacer is what you need, and this in here is the same way. Now we're going to put the cam gear and the crankshaft gear back on. Get our timing marks lined up on our camshaft and our crankshaft, and then put them on. All right, now we're going to wash the oil out of these threads and off the bolts. Try to get that dried out, put this Loctite on there. We want to use the red Loctite on it, permanent. Make sure these don't come loose. We use blue on pretty much everything else. Got a tool to lock the gear so we can torque the bolts. All right, we're going to torque the crankshaft on, I think specs is 24, but I always use 25. All right, there we go. Now, let's look right here. Our cam chain tensioner, when you put this thing on, make sure it's up against the cam plate and that the shoe here is in all the way. If you just stick the bolts in it and it's not all the way back against it, you'll put it in the bind, you might break it, and it's just, make sure it's up against the cam plate so it can't distort. We're going to torque that to 120 also, 120 inch-pounds. In the head of those little bolts are kind of soft, it seems like. All right, we got that on there. We got our timing marks lined up here. When your timing marks are lined up, you can put your push rods in your rear cylinder. When you get them in, then you can rotate it to where your timing mark here is up at the top. And you can do your front. You can do both of them at the same time on each cylinder. All right, we're going to push these lifters down. Make sure they're on top of the cam before you put your push rods in, because they can stick up in there, and if you don't push them down when you're making your push rod adjustment, you might be adjusting lifters that aren't touching the push rods, aren't touching the camshaft. And we talked about cleaning these holes up here, your upper push rod tube O-rings. What I do is I take carburetor cleaner on a rag, I reach up in there and wipe that out. Make sure there's no sealant or anything in there. These look pretty good. All right. Now we need to get our push rod tubes ready. Okay, I got our push rods laid out here and our tubes. We got to take these apart. We've got to pull these apart to get these springs. We're going to put our push rod tubes together. When they come all took apart like this, sometimes it's kind of overwhelming. but they'll have this flat washer, you might say, that fits over that tube. They'll have it like that and like this, and that's just for shipping. You got to take these collars off here, take that out, put the collar back on, put your spring in, and then this goes between your spring and your O-ring, like that right there. So I've got all of those fixed. Now we need to do our O-rings. So we got 3 different sizes. The small round ones, the big thick ones, those they go to top. And then you got these 4 thinner ones, and then you got 4 that's larger. These go to bottom, these go in the middle, these go to top. So when you're putting these together, I like to put just a little bit of oil on this tube, because you're gonna be sliding these O-rings up and down on them. And if it's dry, you might have a bad situation. Okay, you get that on there, got your O-ring down here. You got your tubes, got a flare on one end, that goes against that O-ring. Okay? There, and there's our tubes, ready to go in. And there's not a certain hole, a certain intake or exhaust valve that they go on. They go in any one of them. Same as the push rods. They'll fit anywhere you put them there. Take the push rod, put it in from the black end. The aluminum top is the top part of it. Stick that in there. Put a little oil on it. I want to put this together dry. I put some lubricant on the others. When I put the lifters in, I put some lubricant in the top of them. This is a neat little wrench right here. It's a Blue Point, but it works kind of like a ratchet works. You can just tighten it and back it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it. Because once you get these in here and you get the push rod ran up to where there's no lash, which is 0 lash, then that tool makes it a lot faster, because you got to go 24 turns or 24 flats. Put the big ones in at the bottom, put a little oil on them, keep them, make them stay in there. And then the others, the fatter O-rings, you might say, go on top. Take it, put it up in the bottom, and make sure you're inside the rocker arm up at the top. It pretty much, most of the time it will. If you'll take it and push on that tube, you'll hear it pop up in there. That will kind of help hold it. Give a little more room for your adjustment. All right. Now that push rod will go up and down a little in there, because it's not up against the lifter at the bottom. So I'm going to take 1 wrench, my 1/4 inch, and hold the bottom of the push rod and turn the upper part with my fingers and extend the push rod out. There's a lock nut down there that you got to make sure it's up at the top. You see your lock nut, it won't fall unless you let your wrench slip off. It's not putting pressure on the lifter, and it's not putting pressure up on the rocker arm either. So that's where you want to start from. always make sure that that's just touching. Just as soon as it touches. Now I can take my finger and I can turn it some more. I can turn it some more with my fingers and push the plunger down. But we don't want to do that. We want to start with it just touching. Then I take my scribe and I like to make a scratch on my push rod. That's the part I'm gonna turn. And I can kind of keep up with it that way in case I lose the count. But we're gonna do 24 flats, okay? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12. And there's my scratch. 13, 14, 15, 23, 24. And there's my scratch. So that's 24 flats. The first flat or two, you may not even feel nothing, but then it will start getting harder to turn your wrench. And the lifter's got about 200 thousandths travel in the top of it. And what you're trying to do is push the inside of that lifter down the plunger, push it down about middle ways of that 200 thousandths. So you're trying to adjust that down 200 thousandths. And that should be about middle ways. So now we're going to lock this lock nut. And this is a little fun sometimes, because you got to hold them. Got to hold them too, and then you got to hold the stem turning while you lock it. Okay? Does it have to be perfect? No. You're just looking for somewhere around 100 thousandths or center of the lifter. And just tighten these down good and snug. And that one's ready to go. With a new set of lifters, even though you've just adjusted it, you can reach in there and you can take your finger and turn it. I mean, it's not real easy, but you can. But if that lifter had already been used and was already primed up and you just made this adjustment, then you probably couldn't turn your fingers, but at the same time it would have a valve open because it doesn't have air in it, it's already pumped up. And that's when you need to wait until you can turn it with your fingers freely before you turn the engine, because there's a valve open and it won't be at the right time and your piston will hit a valve and cause damage. And that's not no fun. So if it won't spin with your fingers, wait till it will. And I can turn that one. Okay? Take the paper clip, rubber band off. Push the bottom of the tube down in that bottom O-ring. And then try to get that to come down. So I'll go back up here and get it. Go. We got the collar slid down. There's a little tool to help with getting this keeper locked in there. We're going to put a preload on those O-rings. There we go. I've got one in, I've got the intake push rod in. I gotta do this in the same way. When I get this one in ready to turn it, we'll pick up from there. All right, we got our two rear push rods in. We got them set. We made sure that we could turn them with our fingers. And now we're going to turn the engine, the crankshaft, one round, which will put the cam timing mark up here at the top. And then we'll be ready to put in our 2 front push rods. You see our timing marks there. Okay, we're going to roll this engine, and the timing mark for the crank will come back up. Okay, that's a timing mark for the camshaft is up here. Now we can put in our front 2 push rods. What I always like to do is stick my fingers in these holes and fill these lifters and make sure if I turn it a little, they don't move. Okay, if you'll watch the cam and crank at how much I'm turning it, and the lifters aren't moving. So I could set them with it there, I could set them with it there, right? It gets clear over here, and I still haven't felt one move. Okay? Now I can come back over here. I'm getting a little bit of, right about there, a little bit farther, still not moving. So, does it have to be exact? No, it doesn't have to be exact on those marks. Just as long as when you turn it, the lifters aren't moving on the camshaft. Okay? Now we're going to put in our front ones. Just like we did the rear. Put a little rubber band and paper clip up here. Got our O-rings in the bottom here. A little oil to make things work good. Put our 2 bigger radius O-rings in the bottom. Our 2 fatter ones go on top. Put a little oil on our push rods. Make sure that O-ring's got some oil on it. And then we're going to put the intake one in. Okay, I pushed it up there to make that O-ring snap in. It gives me more room on my adjustment. The push rod slid down. The quickie part did. All right. Feels pretty good right there. I'm going to make me a scribe mark on it. I'll check that again after moving it. Make sure I got the slack out. All right. Now we're going to do 24 flats, or 4 turns, ever how you want to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Making sure I can spin that push rod. Don't want to turn the engine until they'll spin. We got all the push rods in. Just waiting to make sure this one turns good before I put the push rod tube down. I'll put the cam cover on, get the exhaust back in place, put the 2 spark plugs back in it that I took out the other side, and put it back neutral and see how it does. Get the air cleaner back on.
Yeah. So here's our old baffles. We went and put the louver baffles in. Forgot to get that on video, but we're gonna finish up the bike and we'll show y'all how everything runs when we get it put back together.
All right, fellas, we got everything buckled back up. Exhaust and all hooked back up. Got the louver baffles in it. Fired it up. Sounds good. Getting ready for the dyno.
So guys, Dave just finished up on the dyno. Let's go back here and check everything out.
Okay guys, so finishing up Bram's bike here. Dad put the cams in and all that, so we're just gonna go over some dyno sheets and a few things we like about it. So it is a 114 limited. It's got the 3030 Star Racing camshaft put in it. It's got high flow head pipes, and it's got Rineheart mufflers with the standard baffle in it. So it came in with the DBX baffle or the high output baffle, and we put the standard back in it. So on the dyno sheets, guys, I don't know if you can see that good there, Micah. We ended up with 121.8 horsepower, 139.2 foot-pounds of torque, and that's in SAE. I'm trying not to say because some people was making fun of me saying too much, so we're gonna work on that as we get better with these videos. We're gonna run over to channels, standard, and this tit okay. Now we're in STD or standard, as a lot of people like to post the sheets. You can see we went to 124.5, 142.3. Standard and SAE is just a click of a button. So it's as easy as that, as picking which correction factor that you want on your dyno sheet. I realize that most people want the highest number you can get on your sheet. We go for more realistic repeatability stuff. With that being said, I'm going to flop back over to the SAE. We did print out both that we're going to be posting, so you can see. It's going to go back to SAE. Alright, so 121.8, 139.2. You can see it's got a pretty nice torque curve. Horsepower pulls out to the end. Pretty close. So it pulls out to 5,500. This is not the Star cam stopping us here, and this is not the Star cam that is rolling us up into it here. It's the Rineheart mufflers. So I like the sound of the Rineheart mufflers. They look good, but if you don't put the standard baffle back in and you leave that high flow DBX baffle with the cam, they'll actually have a really big dip that'll come up here. This helps pull that out, but if we had something like a D&D 2-into-1, Chromeworks 2-into-1, some Fuel Moto pipes 2-into-1, we could keep this level almost completely flat around 140 foot-pounds of torque to nearly 5 grand, and we would be able to pull on out to the end would look more like 124 horse. So we wouldn't have stopped here and flattened out. We would have kept on pulling with a 2-into-1 of those nature pipes. So just some things to think about, guys, and to look at. Beautiful bike, turned out awesome. As far as a rider bike, this thing's going to do great. We're making very good torque into the riding area, pulling out almost all the way to where we want to see it at the end. Just pretty excited about it. Of course, we have great luck with the 3030 cam. Your 107s, your 114s, your 117s, up to the Gen 2 stuff. 3030 is just, it's one of the best out there. So keep in mind that that's a great cam to use. There's other cams, we really like it. That's this bike and this install. We're going to keep on trying to do more and more. So just keep looking at our page. We're going to try to get better at speaking and better at presenting stuff as time goes on. So support us and bear with us, guys. Just another great bike.
We make horsepower, not excuses.